Everyone, welcome. Good evening. And we are here streaming classes live twice a day. Our first class every day is at 10 a.m., and that is a vinyasa practice. We toggle between what we call at the studio a fit practice. So leaves you in a nice clear space. And then in the evenings, we do a 7:30 p.m. These are all Pacific Standard Time detox practice, which is our restorative yin yoga practice. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. Once in a while, if there's technical things or something just pushing the schedule. Hi, Eric. Good evening. Brian Boone. And if you're sitting with me tonight and you've been sitting with me before the practices, change up your position. So if you've always come into the same position, put the other shin in front perhaps, or sit on your shins versus sitting on your bum, or try and then make any adjustments so that you can be more comfortable in that seat. And the general guideline for these meditations is to simply have your head above your heart, so we're not lying down. And if the body is sore, if you're feeling, tension or tightness and those aches, you're going to feel those when you sit still, and that's part of the experience. So we don't have to, pull it in and make a story about it. We also don't have to push it away. We can acknowledge and observe what it is, and then you can do the same thing with your mind and your thoughts. You do the same thing with your emotions and your feelings. You don't have to pull them in and kind of live in that story. You also don't have to push them away. And then underneath, grounding us in the meditation, is the observation of the air coming into your body and the air going out. So we're not forcing nor changing nor creating a pattern of breath control. You may have heard of the word pranayama, the practice of controlling your breath. We're simply observing the natural breath, which is also a practice in pranayama, but we're not engaging the breath in any way. We're just watching it. So make any final adjustments if you need to. Let your hands support on your thighs. You can go palms up. It's a bit more energy to receive, or you can go palms down, and that's helpful if you're feeling like you want to ground more in your experience. Eyes open or eyes closed. If your eyes are open, maintain a soft gaze on one focal point. And you may find that you like keeping your eyes open, but you may also find this fading effect as you start to come into the stillness and relax in the neutral spine. And once you start to fade and begin to observe the breath, it may feel good to then close the eyes down. And drop into our practice this Thursday evening as we're guiding it. Like I said, here from Los Angeles. Big city, lots of people, lots of energy. And then expand that awareness into the world. Big world, lots of people, lots of energy. And we're beginning, so many of us, to scratch the surface on really opening up beyond the superficial experience or that attachment that we have to the I, and we're really starting to experience the essence of we or us, or union or connection, and this interpretation of yoga to unite and to connect. In mindfulness, it is a process, and to acknowledge what is, to be, to observe, to listen. And so you can put it all out there tonight, and it can start now, and it can continue all the way till the end of our practice, not even just our meditation practice, but also throughout our detox practice. And let's begin to settle into the space. You maintain your stillness and for the duration of your meditation. If that discomfort appears physically, mentally, emotionally, let's observe it tonight. You have a nice practice. I'll hold space and I will call you back in just a little while. And please allow yourself these next 30 seconds to really feel what you're feeling. Keep your body relatively still and take 3 deep breaths here, please. And notice when you take these deep breaths and you're expanding the breath inside the body into that point of tension or resistance. And every time you bump up against that point of tension or resistance with your breath, you may not be completely getting the stress to go away, but you're loosening the attachment of the stress on your mind. And slowly you can start to bring your eyes back into the space. And when I talk about holding space, notice that you could still feel the practice that you're in. And perhaps with the more regularity of the practice, you can always sense the practice that you're in. So it's not one of these things where it just hits you when you're on your mat, and then when you're off your mat, you're like, where did my practice go? With more regularity and consistency, you should be able to always feel that space moving with you. And it's kind of a guide, a friend, whatever you want to call it, energy when you need it, clarity. Boone, is it still dropping out? Let me know on the mic. Nice. What's up, Emmy? Hey, Roz. Kelly, hi. Hope you're well. Hey, Ron. Anna, good evening. Is your husband joining again this evening? Anybody feeling it from last evening? It's interesting because the classes are recorded, so sometimes I'll get a text or a message of somebody that, just took last night's class early evening today, and they're like, whoa. So we've got people, there's most of the people are taking the classes, I think, within a 24 or 12-hour period of time. Hey, Ari, PG. I'm going to take a moment before we start our practice. Hopefully you're able to hear me okay. Boone, let me know. Ari, let me know. If not, I just want to remind everybody that there's a lot of waves that we're going to be feeling. Remind you that we, are already in a global pandemic, and now we're in one of the, what hopefully will be one of the greatest movements, however, based on a horrific tragedy. But the fact is that the system needs to change, and we're all contributing in our ways for that to happen. And the reminder is that there's a lot of waves physically, a lot of waves mentally and emotionally, and sometimes those emotional waves, you're going to ride them with other people. If you're out protesting, you're going to ride those waves with other people, but we have to understand that we're sensitive beings, and energy moves through us and it moves around us. And so take for example, if you're in one of those gatherings and then all of a sudden you're at home alone, you're going to feel those waves. And so hence the opportunity to practice, and then also psychologically, and just making sure that we're taking care of ourselves physically and we're getting rest. This is life in general, is what can we and put forth and sustain. It's more of a, to use the analogy of running, it's more of a marathon versus a sprint, but that charge brings us to this adrenaline rush of the sprint. So just really checking in with sustainability, and that you're getting plenty of rest, and you're getting plenty of fluids, and you're hydrating, and you're eating well. I know sleep is challenging for everybody right now, pretty much common thread. So simply checking in the mat, these classes that we're hosting online can be a nice way to check in with yourself, because that is very important. Without you, none of this looks the same. Everybody's got their energy and their contribution, and everybody is a part of the whole. Debo, good evening. An earthquake. Peter, we talking about the one last night? Oh, good, Ari. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I have a loose connection. Hopefully it's okay and not dropping out on you guys. So now that we're all here, and if you don't have a yoga block, have your pillow or your blanket next to you that you can use to support yourself, because if you've done one of these classes by now, you know that there tends to be a lot of feeling and sometimes an achiness and sometimes a lot of discomfort. But remember, as soon as you're bumping up against that tension and yet not distracted, and it's easy to be distracted, but you're staying with the practice, you're sitting with the sensations, you're observing the mind, and you're incorporating mindfulness into your life, it's going to rewire, it's going to flow that calm to your mind. So sometimes we got to unravel everything and then take it all apart, and so that we can build it back up. So that's definitely happening inside of us during detox. All right, let's go ahead and lie down onto your backs, please. And release your legs long, arms by your sides. If you'd like a pillow or a blanket underneath your head, go ahead and place that. Nobody directly commented that you're feeling the practice from last night, but it would not be unusual as you get into what's called the connective tissue or the fascia. And it's like this web. Think of a web. And that just runs throughout your entire body. And if you change, if you open up, if you stretch, if anything changes in one part of that web, it affects the entire web. And you know how easy it is if there's a spider web in the corner of your house, and then you go and you pull one thread of that spider web, it pretty much pulls the entire web down. And so there's this kind of a push and pull, and think of it like a string-like effect. And if you pull one string, it pulls all strings, and everything kind of and shifts and moves around. So let's say that your right knee is bothering you tonight. We could do something to your left shoulder, and it could resolve the sensations in your right knee. It's cool like that. Rest your arms down by your sides. Give your head a little rock side to side on your pillow, or if your head is on the ground, side to side. I think I mentioned this, but we are June 4th, 2020. You can let your head come back to center and rest. And I give you guys a lot of space in this practice. So you don't know it because we're all in different rooms. We're virtual, but sometimes I fall asleep. And you think, oh, he's just intentionally keeping us here, when in actuality, I fell asleep. Maybe you fell asleep, but eventually, lo and behold, I come back, a breath wakes me up, and then we move, and we transition, and we develop a relationship with change, in which we have to learn to trust change because it's not innately built into us, and to trust change because we're so caught up in the I, in the ego. And unfortunately, our society here in the West only exacerbates all of that. Not to go too far down the road, but it certainly does exacerbate and that I element. And so tonight we're in the essence of being, and it's more about the we versus the I. the us and the relationship to unite and connect. And of course, to honor yourself along the way. Like I said before, without you, it's not the same. Without one of you on this virtual platform right now, we wouldn't have the same experience. And so let's go ahead and take about a minute or so. I'll stop talking. Hallelujah. And you can just sit with whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking tonight. Now that you can see where you're at, take a deep breath into your body, fill your belly up. Open your mouth, exhale, release all the air from your lungs until they are completely empty. You can keep everything else where it is. Slowly go ahead and take your arms over your head. You reach out, give yourself a full body stretch. And then relax in the shoulders. Bring your right knee into your chest. Interlace the fingers onto your right shin. So both hands come over top of the shin. And you work a grip where you get all the way up into the webbing of your fingers so your knuckles are through knuckles. And then all you have to do is really just squeeze the knuckles together. That'll rest the grip on the shin versus engaging strength in the arms. And to hold the shin, you just want to lock the grip. Feel the knuckles squeeze. And let the weight of gravity in your shoulders and your right thigh coming down into your belly, let that do the work. And certainly is one place where your mind need not do the work. And so notice what happens when your mind is given the opportunity and you've actually granted it permission and to go wherever it wants to go. If it goes to the past, fine. If it goes to the future, fine. And connect to the body. Keep the breath natural. And then you can just ride the waves, whatever waves you may be experiencing tonight. Ride the waves. And then I'll call you back after a while. notice a little bit more space if you move the knee gently out. And then your thigh can come in a little bit deeper for the last minute on this side. Not necessarily during the pose, but in between the poses. And you're welcome if you realize, oh, having that pillow or that block underneath the head and doesn't actually feel that great or contribute to your practice, then you can always remove it in the transitions. Let's softly begin to release your right shin. And bring your right foot down onto the mat. Keep your right leg bent and your left leg long. You may feel a deeper breath here. Feel the rise of your belly. And at the end of your exhale, start to slide your left foot onto the mat. And then we're going to wrap your left leg over your right thigh best you can. So lying on your back, cross your left leg over your right leg. And if that's not easy, you are normal. Hip tightness in general is normal. And so the outer hip flexors around your bum. So if you've got a shin cross to a knee, anything that looks remotely like a leg crossed over the other, and then scoot our hips over to the left a little bit. And let's come into a supine twist, which just means twisting your spine while lying down on your back. So the knees are going to come down to the right. If you need to scoot your bum over at all, if you need to reset your pillow or blanket underneath your head, if you need to prop in a new place, because remember, this is about letting your body let go. This is about releasing your muscles. This is about working through the connective tissue. Where there's that opportunity, if you're feeling something in your right knee and I affect your left shoulder, that could fix the sensations that you were feeling in your right knee. You feel some generalized compression through the middle to the lower part of your spine, and then begin to rest. You rest in stillness here. If you think about it for a moment, and so many things in our lives work in these cycles of, we build something up and then we break it down, and then we build it up and then we break it down. It's just a matter of, how far do you break it down? So through the awareness of recognizing where you are in the cycle, and the opportunity can expand itself, or we can see the opportunity more clearly. And sometimes you just chip away when you want to really break kind of the edge of the cliff off. But you can really use that visualization with so many things in your life. Breaking them down to building them back up, but that takes trust and it takes patience. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the practice, a true reflection of sustainability, which means we need to take care of ourselves. feel where you're at in the twist. And we'll stay for about 30 to 45 more seconds. And you can play with this, everybody, but there is an art in detox, and that is to really, it's not the word challenge, but really practice coming out and moving out of a pose as slowly as you possibly can. See, I can slow down my voice. I can run out the words. But if you start to practice in this way, you're going to gain a greater understanding in the relationship into the energy and what's called in Chinese medicine, Chinese meridian-based theory, the qi. So as slowly as you can, we can start to roll ourselves back onto our hips. And likely there's a heaviness and there's an achiness, but it is sending us on our way, and for everything to feel a little bit lighter when we get to the rebound. And slide your hips back square. Uncross your left leg and let it come back out onto your mat. You feel that in the front of your left hip, and then go ahead and straighten your right leg out. Make any little adjustments that you need to. Rest your hands on your chest. And then close your eyes. This is the rebound. Enjoy. And hopefully you feel those opportunities in the rebound. Space or calm. And just a little bit of relaxation for your muscles. And keep your left leg out long once again. This time bring your right knee in, but interlace the fingers on the back of the hamstring. Any adjustments with your pillow and your head resting down. And then we're going to start to lift the right foot up. The leg does not have to go straight. You'll feel it when you start to meet the resistance in the hamstring and the hips and the low back. If you can easily straighten the leg without forcing it, then you're welcome to do that. Keep the weight in your left heel and your hips and throughout across your back and your shoulders. And say it's a little bit more moderate and to work a hamstring opening from your back and versus the lunges or doing the splits. And that gravity works on you secondarily and to open up some space for your wrist and your elbows through your arms and your shoulders. And even your chest right now. So it can be tricky to sustain the grip. Breathing in yoga poses is where we really, one way to start the practice of sustainability with our minds. So there's this nice healthy relationship in where we're checking in as we're moving through in the process of our lives. And if your leg is starting to quiver or shake a little bit, that's great. Don't force it. Relax the face. Keep your breath flowing naturally and smooth. But it's okay if your leg is trembling or shaking. We got about 1 more minute on this side. In some ways, that's what we want it to do. Wake up. And develop an opening or a new path. And just think about it. If you were walking through the woods and you didn't know the trails, and you go down one trail and you see where that goes, and then you go down another trail and you see where that goes, and then this trail connects to that trail and you realize you're on a trail that you've been on before, but it's different. It's always different. And that's change. And as slow as you can, start to bend your right leg. And drawing your heel down, down, and down. And let's release the grip. And let your right leg go long. Rest your arms or your hands onto your belly. And you have the option, if that pillow or the block underneath your head is, if you're done with it, you could always slide it out. And take a deep breath and perhaps a light sigh, and then start to rest in the stillness. And see how you're feeling. See how your legs and your hips and your back are feeling. And let's take the arms back over your head and feel some of that flow as you stretch out. Point your toes, spread your fingertips. And it should feel pretty good to move in this way. Let's bring the left knee in. Take the hands on top of the shin. And work your knuckles through knuckles so you're all the way up there in the webbing, the hands and the fingers. And keep the right leg long and shoulders heavy, and then let that grip do what it needs to do without you having to focus or energize yourself and pull your thigh in. Just connect knuckles to knuckles and let the weight of the arms do the rest. Take a deeper breath and bring yourself back in your body with your mind wherever it may have gone. And as you exhale, you can soften your grip and bring your left foot down onto the ground. In these waves that we're riding, once in a while you're going to get that calm, deep breath that comes through. Certainly take it when it's there. You can accompany that with a sigh, okay, a letting. And it's part of unraveling and breaking it down. Let's take the right leg, cross it over your left leg. And any cross, it could be shin to knee. You can wrap all the way up with your inner thighs. Go ahead and do that. And then scoot the hips over to the right. And gently bring your knees down to the left. And supine twist with support where you need it. Pillows, blocks, blankets. In class at the studio, people will use water bottles sideways. Just make sure the top's on. And so it's interesting because in the position which is not neutral, you're volunteering yourself to tension and resistance and compression. So you're feeling that, you're feeling something. But then in your mind, you're exploring a neutral position, neutrality of the unforced breath, and the natural breath as it exists without you changing it in any way. You're using it or manipulating it in any way. And some days you've fallen faster than others. The key is that you remain on your mat, whether it's a flow or a detox. And once we're here, and this is a part a lot of times people don't understand about practice. It's like if you went to university, if you went to class, you got all the information you needed. If you didn't go to class, and then you'd be running around the time that it was for finals and trying to cram and shove all this information into your mind. So if you come to your mat and you stay on your mat, and then you receive everything that you need. And if you succumb to the distractions and things that can easily pull you off of your mat, it's just going to be a different way. It's still a way, it's just going to be a different way. And so it's a practice, and we come back again. And we see what we see, and then we come back again and again. And I hope you're experiencing some silence, less noise around you, and so that you can really see whatever's happening inside of your body. And you can truly allow access into the authentic expression of your emotions. And acknowledge whatever may be on your mind. You soften the belly, will stay and observe in 5 to 8 more breaths here. You never know, that beauty is in part the fade, but then also that moment where you feel the breath and it draws you back. You're just hovering in a different wavelength in your mind. Go nice and slow as you can go. And start to roll your hips back square. And feel that in your outer hips. Feel that in your spine. Uncross your right leg and bring both feet back onto the mat. And make any adjustments. And feel the release of the twist. Let's let the legs go out long, please. And reminder, when it's there and it's unforced and you'll notice it, that urge to take a deeper breath and a sigh and a release. And sometimes that is the byproduct of holding ourselves up into that ball of resistance. And watching our minds get more and more calm as we meet the resistance and continue to develop our relationship, whatever your definition of change is. It's remote. It means it's relative to you. But the principles of the practice, they say the same for all of us. We go into the pose, we remain still in the pose for a period of time. We observe physically, mentally, emotionally. And then eventually we come out and we feel the rebound. And in the rebound, many times, this is the space where you're like, oh, there's other parts or there's other pieces. There's ways to be that I may not have been aware of. Let's keep the right leg where it is. Bring your left knee back in. And this time interlace the fingers on the back of the hamstring. Knuckle to knuckle up into the webbing of the fingers. And then let's start to lift the left heel up. The leg does not have to go straight. Just so that the shoulders are heavy and that grip is locked in so you're not having to hold on in strength. If it makes you a little uncomfortable to sit with these sensations, to remain still, then once again you are like oh so many people in this world. But throughout the course of your practice, you will find these moments where you surprise yourself and where you're no longer in agony in parts of your body. You're no longer as tight as you were in parts of your body. And all of that is changing the relationship to your mind. So if you get down and physically and sensationally, it is going to have an effect on your mind. If you're more cerebral and you just love gathering information and collecting and reading and really pumping up the intellect, then it's as important to have a relationship with your body. might be a little bit more difficult and to sit in the sensations, but building the relationship with your body. You're representing this wholeness, and rather than a bunch of distant and separate parts, and you're representing this wholeness and this idea that it's all connected. And keep the jaw soft and the breath neutral and natural. If you're getting some of those quivers in your left leg, that is pretty normal. And we'll observe about 5 to 8 more breaths on this side. If you're holding a lot in your quads, the front of your thighs, you'll definitely feel this one too. And start to slowly bring your foot back down. Because your quad was turned on to a certain degree, having your leg bent or having your leg straight. And now having your leg bent, feel it release. And let go of the grip and let both legs and go back down onto the mat. And pause, feel, observe, and with patience, of course. Feel it. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And a little sigh as you exhale the air out of your mouth. If you have something under your head, it's been there for a while, so let's feel that release. Lift the head, slide the block or the pillow or the blanket out, and let your head come all the way down onto the mat. Even though you're flat to the floor, it may feel like your head has fallen through the floor and it's below your heart. And see what that feels like here for a moment. It's pretty trippy what you can feel inside your own body. Bend your legs, bring your feet flat. And let's take your right arm up, roll onto your right side. And there's absolutely no rush. And your body's probably going to feel pretty heavy. And bring yourself all the way around so that we're sitting on the shins. And if you need to place something like a pillow or a blanket in between your feet, If the knees are really tight, if the quads are really tight, put something in between your feet or on the back of your ankles and then sit down. You may need to kind of readjust, bring the knees in, try them a little closer. There's some bones on the tops of the feet that don't always feel great to compress into a, even if you're on your yoga mat, it's like an eighth of an inch thick. So you might want some extra padding underneath the ankles or the tops of the feet. And hands on your thigh, feel a neutral spine. This is the first time we've actually sat up, so see where you're at. You might feel a little dazed and confused in your mind. And then once you're okay with being where you are in your shins, and you're going to make a gentle fist with both hands, and then tuck the fist into the hip crease. So more on the inside versus the outside. And knuckles on the top of the thigh, fingers curled up towards the belly. And so hands on both hip creases. And then we're going to start to let the upper body fold and relax the belly the best you can. And we're going to fold over our fists and creating space for our hip flexors. And there should be some room to let your head come down. It does not have to touch the ground. And let your elbows release towards the ground. And they do not have to touch the ground. Relax the belly. Feel the fist connection to your thighs. As you're exploring the practice of stillness here, it could be a little more tricky through the mind, but I encourage you to stay with it and let the breath be natural. Observe the breath to the best of your ability. You may find once you get used to it that you start folding and molding over your fist more and more every time the air comes out of your body. And we'll stay for about 45 to 60 more seconds. And let everything be heavy, and your forehead may have certainly come down all the way to the ground at this point. If not, that's okay too. And go slow, head heavy, eyes closed. And begin to roll yourself up one vertebra at a time. And you should feel some of this air come back into your torso. And keep your eyes closed as you stack your spine. And let your hands rest in your lap, palms face up. And take note, if you're sitting and your eyes closed, if you see any shade of color, white, red, purple, green, orange. And then you can bring your eyes back into the space. Move your head a couple times side to side. And then it may feel really nice to start to roll your head around in circles. And keep it going in one direction. If you're moving clockwise, keep going clockwise. It's this slow. If you're going to go counterclockwise or switch the direction, do that now. I mean, this practice gives you permission and pretty much nowhere else unless you're sleeping. And you have permission to move this slow. And so certainly expanding your awareness and through your body's practice. And we did not forget about the legs. Bring your head back to center. You might be feeling this down into your feet and your toes. So let's watch that flow go. Start to crawl your hands forward. And come down onto your elbows. And let's release the legs out behind us. And separate your knees, separate your feet. It could feel nice to bring your big toes together. And then let your heels fall apart. And we're going to take some rest on our chest. So separate your elbows wide. And stack your palms and then turn your right cheek onto your hands, please. And this now is a prone position, which means lying on the prone. Notice your hips and your hip flexors letting go. And your bum can soften if it hasn't already. And let's switch to the left cheek. can start to slowly turn your chin back. And use a little draw through your belly. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. And we're going to make our way into a child's pose. And so your knees stay on the mat, and then we slide the hips all the way back to the heels. You release the chest, let your forehead come down to kiss the mat. And belly in between or just on top of your thighs. And close your eyes, concentrate on the connection of your forehead to your mat or to the floor. As you focus on that connection, you can develop a sensational release into anything behind your eyes. Anything through the back of your skull, the back of your neck, space in your heart. And see, we just need to find the ways to recharge ourselves because we always have more to give. After this practice, you may feel calm, but you may also feel energized, open, ready. And let's roll ourselves back up, all fours. And if you would like to have a little sip of whatever you have to drink, you're welcome to take a sip, and then we're going to turn around and to lie onto your back once again. And release your legs long. And release your arms by your sides with your palms facing up. And just to give everybody a frame of reference with time, when we're in these poses, which now you've been in these poses, we're in them for anywhere from 3 minutes to 5 minutes at a time. It's a long time. So as you lie down, we have a few minutes left. And to really see or reflect, there's no work to be done here, but observe and reflect and notice what's changed, what may have shifted inside of you. Everything from a physical sensation to a perspective in your mind to a, just seeing it from the other side of the coin, seeing it from both sides of the coin, being open to the possibility. I keep drawing us back to this moment to ask the question, how many people do you think are doing this right now? And practicing mindfulness or meditation or some form of practice. And if we can expand this, if we can continue to share, you can't tell anybody else what they're going to feel, but we're recharging. We're clearing out the confusion. We can open up our eyes more. We can see things as they are right in front of us. over all the detox practices. We've been doing these for now over, I don't know how many nights. So many nights in detox, and hopefully you feel like you're becoming a better listener within yourself and to the folks around you. And so please, take these classes, share these practices, invite people, to try a practice. They're out there. And join us live and do it on your time, whatever. There's so many ways. If it's not here, then try it with somebody else. And take your time in your Shavasana, everybody. And soak it up. You can fall asleep right here if you want to, if you're nice and cozy and relaxed. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning. And since you're my detoxers, we will not be having a detox practice tomorrow evening, and I'll explain more about that in the morning. And so we will have the morning practice at 10 a.m., and that'll be available throughout the day. Be kind to yourself, be patient. If you need anything, please reach out and support one another. Beautiful night, everyone. Namaste.